Okay, this is just a quick start video really for the people who haven't really explored artificial intelligence and want to get started and not sure really where to begin. So you can see I'm using Microsoft Copilot app, which I'm logging in with my Office 365 accounts to make use of the features that it offers here. So you can see I can click on ChatGPT 4. I've got more kind of like a longer sort of like series of conversations per the session that I'm using. So I'm not really it's restricted with the basic version as such, which is great. And it gives me a lot more functionality. So with Copilot compared to ChatGPT, the basic version, for example, I'm a bit restricted with the ability to create images and things like that. Where with Copilot, I've got that integrated within it, which is great. So as a basic sort of starting point, this does give you a lot of functionality, and you can see here your personal company data protected in this chat, and it gives you that kind of like the robustness around privacy and security. If you click on three dots in the top right hand corner, it says there show tones. So it kind of like the conversation style, as you can see there, and it can be creative, it can be balanced, it can be precise, and you can see in the bottom left hand corner the change in the kind of characters that you can put into it. So I'm going to go with just a balanced one. You can see it's 2,000 characters there. And another thing that it mentions is, it can make mistakes. You got to be able to check and vet the information that it creates, and this is where your subject knowledge is absolutely crucial. You need to be able to recognise where there are errors, and it will produce errors. The other thing, a lot of people make mistake is in terms of the prompts that they put in, the text they put in there. Is it going to get you what you want? Is it going to sort of like generate the content that you want? And the problem is a lot of people tend to sort of like do something quite vague. So if I just put in here, create a revision resource for A Christmas Carol, and if I put that in there, let's just see what it generates. And you'll find something which is quite sort of general. It's coming up with a kind of like a summary. It's going into like some of the characters and things like that. But what you really need to do is to harness like the real kind of power of these platforms is to be explicit in what you want. So you can see there, it's not bad actually. It's giving me the carol summary, Christmas Carol summary. It's got characters, themes. It's giving me some additional resources. So it's not bad actually. But you'll find yourself going back to it and saying, okay, well that's not quite right. I want it to be like you want it to give me something else. So what I'll do then is I'll go back to say, okay, well I've got something here which is a bit more kind of like explicit in terms of what you want, and you'll find things like where people say they're prepping the machine. So you're making something where you've got kind of like what's the purpose. So I'm creating a scheme of work. What's the role? So I'm giving a role to Copilot in this case. A key stage for English teacher. Scheme of work is what I want it to create, the explicit part of it. I want you to create a scheme of work focused on Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens, retrieval activity, application of new knowledge, create tasks, etc. And then the parameters. So you can see here, one of the things you need to be mindful of is it creating content in UK English. So if I just put that in now, so I've been more explicit and I've asked for it to produce something more focused and less general than the one I was doing before. So you can see here, okay, it's got the objectives, you've got lesson 1, we've got the structure there, which is great. Summary tasks, then it goes on to ghosts, Christmas past. So you can see it's producing something which is more, not perfect, but more sort of suited to the needs of what I'm trying to do. And then all you need to do then is, if you're happy with this and you think, okay, well, it's done what I've asked it to do. Again, always just check, is it in UK English, etc. So okay, go back through and check it. You can see it's producing the lessons. It's producing the kind of content I want it to produce, which is great. And you can see there 2 out of 10 responses. So at this point I've got 10 sort of like prompts that I can put in with this particular session, which kind of seems to change depending on maybe how much usage there is at a time. What I can do then is okay, well let's create lesson 1. So then I can say, okay, now let's focus on lesson 1 and provide more detail for that lesson, like so. So I'm kind of drilling down a bit more now in terms of the particular parts. And in this case here, I've got a lesson structure. It's focused on sort of like, you can see here, a quick quiz about who Charles Dickens is. I might drill down further into that as well. So again, I could say, okay, now let's create me a multiple choice quiz about Charles Dickens' life, etc. So you can start drilling down into different areas and producing the content that you want to do. And when you're happy with that, then obviously you can sort of like start putting the information out of here and put it into a different format. So however you're going to present that, whether it's on a different platform, and you just keep going back to it and just sort of like checking maybe against the specification. So you could put maybe sort of copy the specifications. Is it matching up with regards to the specification that you want it to, and really just sort of like critically analyze whatever is being produced from in this case Copilot, and then just taking it from there. So it's just that kind of like to and fro, getting it to produce the content that you want. And is it correct? Well, you can give it a thumbs up if it's correct. You might want to put some information in there just to sort of like show maybe where it did things well or it didn't do things quite so well, which is fantastic really to sort of feed that back into it. So there you go. In a very short space of time, I've got something now I've got away from the blank canvas. I've got a kind of like a scheme of work. It might not be perfect. I might want to tie it into like sort of like the Key Stage 4 curriculum, etc. But I can do that as I go along, and I can check things, and I can then drill down into more detail in terms of maybe the content. I could ask for it to look for content on the internet and pull some of those things in as well, because obviously it uses Bing as a kind of like the search engine, and then chat as the kind of like the processing of the language that it produces. So main thing to remember from this is to make sure that your prompts are kind of explicit and it's quite clear in terms of what you want from your Copilot in this case, or whatever platform you're using.